we will do stuff wrong. We will make mistakes. We will look and our friends seem like they're doing everything wonderfully, but it's okay because God gave us that child to raise, knowing full well we're not going to do everything perfectly.
Allie, welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be here.
You know, so often we hear that rather throwaway line that this is the most important job. But my goodness, it is.
It is.
Raising the next generation is the most important job. Speak just to that honor factor, if you would, for a moment, because there's so little of that given. It needs to be said.
Oh, absolutely. It is such important work to make a child feel loved, to teach them about the world, to be there for them, to teach them the practical things and the fun things, and to teach them about God as they get older. It is hard work. It is difficult on a day-to-day basis if you look at the details of the day. I mean, to put it lightly, it's difficult. But then you zoom out and you get a little bit of space from those years, and you go, that was the greatest joy. It was so amazing. However, on a day-to-day basis, every mom out there with babies or toddlers, you know what I'm talking about, it is a grind to get through the day. And if you're listening to me talk right now going, I don't feel joyous in the day-to-day, this just feels really hard and I feel like I'm failing, totally normal. That's the feeling that we all feel when we're in it because it is hard.
Well, and that's one reason I'm sure you wrote the book, to give those women, particularly those moms, encouragement. You say in the book, Wonder Woman could be the most terrible mother of all. That sounds counterintuitive. Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. Why would she make the worst mom?
Well, we have this idea that to be a good mom, we have to do everything right. And I love Wonder Woman. I love movies. Wonder Woman's my girl. But if Wonder Woman raised kids, they would not see her make mistakes. She would be amazing all the time. She wouldn't get angry sometimes and have to apologize. She wouldn't forget to pack a lunch and then, you have to buy a lunch. She wouldn't do all the stuff that real moms do. And if that's the case, her children would be completely unprepared for life. They would never have to extend grace. They would never have to develop empathy for someone else. They would never have to, they'd never get to watch their mom make a mistake and then make it right and then reconnect with children. Those are important gifts. If we did everything right, we're actually stealing that opportunity for kids, and then we're putting kids out in the world with zero ability to deal with disappointment.
Yeah, it's so good. I think, too, one of the things that we really haven't touched on, the spiritual nature of this, the Lord's call for a mom. I mean, there's a big spiritual element to doing this and to training your kids in the way the Lord would want them brought up, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, it did a lot for me with my relationship with the Lord when I became a mom, because I never truly could understand how God could love me no matter what I did until I had a little toddler shaking his fist at me because he was so angry. And I would look at that toddler and go, you just need a snack and a nap and a hug and you're going to be just fine. I never once thought, well, look at that toddler being angry at me and making bad decisions. I guess I don't love him anymore. It's ridiculous. And so once I understood that, I realized that God is looking at us going, I love you so much. I realize you're going through it right now. You need a snack and a nap and a hug, and you're going to be just fine.
That's good.
It's such an honor to get to raise kids and understand more God's love for us with that love that we have for our kids.
And in the book, you talk about myths. Let's knock some of those myths down. One is that good moms can do it all. I think that, that is so deeply ingrained in moms that, to be a good mom, to get the A grade, I've got to do it all. And then not really complain about it. Speak to that myth.
Well, that's how Aunt Shirley ended up as Aunt Shirley.
Right. Last time we talked about Aunt Shirley. Yeah. But that's...
Yeah. What happens is when we think we have to do everything perfectly, we end up not taking care of ourselves, because we not only have to take care of our kids, we have to take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, we slowly become resentful. And then we slowly become bitter. And we can smile and quote unquote do all the right things, but that will leak out all over our families, and our kids will get it. And our daughters will learn that they shouldn't take care of themselves. And our sons will learn that women don't take care of themselves and women are just quote unquote grumpy. Well, we're grumpy because sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. So thinking that we have to do it all leads to us pouring everything out of an empty cup and never filling it back up.
That resentfulness, that's a powerful enemy tool, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
Because you're wanting to do the right things, but for the wrong reason. And then it builds up in you, and that resentment will probably crash in somehow, some way. An explosion of anger or outburst or something is going to happen. So getting that right, wanting to do these things from a pure heart is probably the right direction to go. Not probably, it is.
It is. And from a very practical perspective, we have to learn to do less and expect less of ourselves. One thing about having 5 sons is after son number 3, I went, I can't do half the stuff I used to do before. It's logistically impossible. I don't have enough time in the day. I can't say yes to being the room mom. There's just too many children. And so that gave me the confidence to go, oh, I can do these 3 things really well. These are the majors I'm going to major in. And all of the other things, like I would love to be the mom who is the room mom. I would love to make a bunch of homemade cookies for everyone and do all the extra things. I didn't have enough time in my day. And if I had forced myself to do the things that I didn't have the space or capacity to do in that season, I would have been really resentful about it.
You have a phrase in the book, the magic question habit, which caught my eye. What is that, and how do moms benefit from asking it or knowing what that is?
Yeah, the magic question is, what do I need right now? I mentioned on the last show, if you ask a mom, what do you need? Every mom said, oh, I have no idea. I haven't thought about myself in years. But when we get in the habit of just putting a Post-it note on our mirror in the bathroom every morning going, what do I need right now? We are honoring ourselves in a way that I feel like God would want us to, because I feel like He does want us in touch with our emotions and our needs, because if we're not in touch with our emotions and our needs, we will end up being grumpy or resentful or bitter over time. And sometimes we need a hug from our husband. Sometimes we need to call our sister. Sometimes we need to go see a movie on a Sunday afternoon by ourselves. But knowing that just like our kids have needs that we want to take care of, it is good to check in with ourselves, because as we check in with ourselves, we will feel happier, we'll feel less stressed, we'll feel more joy in parenting.
But in that context, again, you've got to keep guilt at bay, because I could imagine that a mom that asks that question, like, yeah, I think I just need a break. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go see a movie with a girlfriend, whatever. Well, I don't have time to do that. I got so much to do. I mean, then the tape starts playing. Can I really afford to go do that? The kids are relying on me. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. Am I touching the right nerve?
Yeah, 100%. I think the key is to start small. And sometimes what you need isn't being away from them, like calling your sister for connection, or making sure that we're drinking enough water, or getting a little bit more sleep at night, or making sure that we have time for Bible study in the morning, like getting up 15 minutes before the kids so it's not just leaping straight into crazy first thing in the morning. I think that's really important.
No, that is good. You know, motherhood can be so difficult if you don't have that foundation of marriage, which we talk about all the time here. You got to get that right, and then so many other great fruit comes from that good, strong marriage. You and your husband, I appreciate this vulnerability. You were doing some counseling and you learned something very significant. Teach all of us what you learned so we can apply it.
Well, we realized that we were very good at running the business of the family. And like we could lock arms and skip into the future together forever, happily running the business of the family. But we never talked about our feelings or our emotions. We're both very future focused, and this is what we're going to do. And we always, kind of have a smile on our face, but we didn't know how to talk about emotions. And
I'm starting to curl in right now. Okay.
It's
Go
hard.
ahead, Jim. Talk about emotions. Go ahead.
It's hard. And what we realized is it came to a head when 2 of our children were dealing with illnesses, one of them a really serious chronic migraines with daily pain. What I did to deal with that pain is I just numbed out. I went ahead and, I still worked on my business, and I was, a pretty good mom, a pretty good wife, but I was kind of numb inside. I quit feeling things. And what happened is we quit talking. And so it took that therapist to get us feeling safe enough to start talking about our emotions. And he did it in the silliest way. He brought out a hacky sack. And one of us would throw the hacky sack to the other, and we would have to talk about how we felt. Well, we had the hacky sack, and then we'd throw it to the other person, and then he would talk about how he felt. And I thought, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world, but it worked. And we just started being able to talk about our fears and our difficulties, and it really brought us together because we needed to do more than just run the business of the family. We needed to connect more as people.
Well, and you kind of answer this question, which is that million-mile-an-hour question, when everything's not just on mom and the thousands of things that she's doing, but dad and work and the thousands of things that he's doing, and then our temperaments and our style for recalibration, if you call it that, whether it's flipping through TV or, just getting our solitude. How does a couple manage that and know that we're actually drifting apart if we don't concentrate on spending time together in the midst of this chaos?
I think we just know. I don't think it's subtle, because what happens is we start feeling lonely, or we start feeling unloved, or we start feeling a little bit of resentment. One of the worst things that can happen when I was doing research for this book is that we start assuming what the other person is thinking. And if we're not doing well emotionally, if we're not taking care of ourselves and not staying connected to our spouse, we can assume negative intent. Like if our husband doesn't take out the trash, we could go, oh, he didn't take out the trash, I better remind him. But if we start assuming negative intent, it's he didn't take out the trash, he doesn't love me, what a jerk, right?
He's not carrying his load.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the big signs. And another thing that I found that was really interesting that helped our marriage is Dr. John Gottman has studied thousands and thousands of couples. He is kind of the preeminent researcher with this. And he discovered that there is a ratio for the good and bad interactions that you have in a marriage every day. So for every negative interaction that you have, you're supposed to have at least 5 positive ones. So say you argue about something, you also want to balance it with 5. So it could be as simple as like passing each other in the hallway and smiling at each other, or, complimenting each other. It doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. But the fact that conflict in a marriage isn't bad, we just need to balance it with a lot of little happy interactions. So that's been really helpful for us as we reconnected.
We're coming in now to the end, but I want to get in the event that happened, I think, with your son Justin when he graduated from college, because it's such a good story and a good illustration. What happened?
Well, Justin was my wild man, my oldest son, the one who
buried the koi alive.
Yes, I mean he was a wild man, and he was one that required a lot of, we'll say, boundaries and discipline. And when you're raising a child like that, it's not always the easiest. But at high school or college graduation, the lunch after the ceremony, he said, "Hey, my friend wants to sit next to you." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, I've been telling him all these years how great you are to talk to and what great advice you have to give. And he wants some of that advice." And I was so honored because your kids don't tell you those things. Your kids aren't saying, "You're so great at listening to me and giving advice." But every once in a while, they give you that little glimmer, so you can see that all the work that you've done all these years really did pay off.
That has to be so rewarding. I mean, to have that kind of connection that your son is bragging to his friends about, "Hey, you want some good advice? Talk to my mom."
And I never would have known. That's the thing.
Yeah.
All the work that we do as moms, that it seems like it's not getting anywhere, it's not getting through. It gets through.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. One thing, thinking about that criticism factor, I think we husbands, fathers, sometimes don't realize that we don't intend to be critical or sound critical, but we're coming across that way about what dinner tastes like or what, the temperature of the food. I mean, not to get locked in on that, but there's something that we're communicating that is a dagger. And we don't intend it to be a dagger. For us, it's a scientific observation. This taco is only, 10 degrees warm. So we're stating facts. But for her, it's like crushing, like I'm not good enough. I didn't do it well enough. What advice do you have for us husbands to just be more aware of that, I guess?
Okay, this may make you laugh. My advice is ask yourself before you say anything if it needs to be said and what your goal is in saying it.
That's so good.
I will often say to my husband when he's kind of going off on a certain topic, "What's your goal in this conversation
Well, that's
with
good
me?
too, though, to
Yeah.
call it out. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't even know.
Yeah.
We're just saying it because we're sarcastic generally.
Yeah,
and
he's
we're,
just being a dude.
Yeah, being a dude.
Yeah, and he'll go, "Oh, my goal is for us to have a loving conversation." Like, I'm not sure your strategy is the best here. So I think asking yourself, does it need to be said, and what's my goal?
You know, that's a great playful way to punch back a little bit
Yeah.
too, and not take it personally and then get mad, get resentful. And not that we should do it, but if we do, what a playful way to do that. Right at the end, I want to hit that mom guilt again, just to make sure that we're aware of it. When that guilt creeps in, why is it important to remember how God sees you as a wife and mother?
It's such a great question. God sees us as we are, how good we are, sometimes how bad we are, how we hit the mark some days, how some days we don't. But he calls us worthy, and he calls us enough for our children. He gave us our children intentionally. He knew that we would be the perfect mom for our kids. And every place that we don't do everything perfect, he's going to make up.
Amen. And that's a good reminder for all of us. Take a deep breath. God sees you. God loves you. These kids were given to you to steward and to shepherd, and they ultimately belong to him.
That's right.
Right? What a great message. Remaining you while raising them, a wonderful resource. If you're in that spot, you have a family member in that spot, raising the kids still, or friends at church, get a copy of this book. If you can make a monthly contribution to Focus, that really helps us. We have about 50,000 people who are doing that, and it just helps Focus on the Family stabilize that budget. And we'll send you a copy of the book as our way of saying thank you for being part of the ministry. A one-time gift, we'll do that as well. The bottom line is we want to get this into your hands. If you can't afford it, we'll send it to you. Just call us and ask us for it. But it's one of those resources, I think, that will make you a far better mom. And for us husbands, probably a few coaching tips are found in there as well. So it's good for everyone to get a hold of.
Yeah, we have so many resources. Donate today, monthly if you can, as Jim said, or a one-time gift is appreciated as well. You can make that donation when you call 800, the letter A in the word family, or stop by the program notes for all the details. On behalf of the entire team, I'm John Fuller, inviting you back next time as we once again help you and your family thrive in Christ.